like if I were to ask you, is there any way that somebody could learn something and change their behavior and it be a negative outcome?
Interesting. So,
Let's just do a classic old-fashioned.
vanilla
SE.
SE?
Yeah, vanilla. I like that.
I think Dolly invented that term.
Oh, yeah.
So you probably want to know what the claim is?
Yeah, let's hear your claim.
I would say that First Amendment auditing is a net positive on a societal level rather than a net negative.
Okay. Can you elaborate for me what First Amendment auditing is?
Sure. It's I think that's a common term. It's probably can be called a few other things. Sometimes it's just called auditing. It's where people go and a lot of times are somewhat provocative. Not always. Sometimes they're just minding their own business. To elicit a police response, and then when such police response is done, they record it and just see if the police officer obeys the law, basically, follows the law, does what they're supposed to do.
And then so the auditing part of that is reviewing it after, or that's what you call the audit?
I think the whole process is called that. It's like they're just testing to see if the right thing is done or if the law is violated, or
Okay.
it's kind of like a test, I guess.
So it's people that go out and either try to engage with police officers in a way to test whether they'll do the right thing according to the law,
Right.
or it can just be something that's captured on video.
Yeah, it could be someone just happens to get pulled over and has a dash cam, I guess. But I don't know if you'd call that auditing or not. That'd be more of just happenstance.
Okay, so it sounds like that's sort of the exception to the rule. More than often, it's people that are going out with this purpose in mind.
Yeah, I can give you an example if that helps.
Yeah,
There's some folks who will go out to stand outside a police station or a public library or some city hall maybe or something, and have a sign that says something like, I don't know, you might say, I can't think of a good example, but a lot of times it is somewhat, can sometimes rub people the wrong way to the point where they call the police, call somebody of authority to come take a look at the situation. And then if the auditor is doing a good job, they'll be on public property and not, obviously harassing anyone or anything, just chilling, mostly minding their own business, maybe saying some things.
Okay. And you said that it's a net positive for society?
Yeah, I think sometimes I think there's a culture surrounding police. Unfortunately, I think there's a ton of good police officers that do the right thing all the time. But I think sometimes there's a us versus them kind of thing that happens, unfortunately. A mentality, I guess. And I think every once in a while, putting that kind of to the test can be a good thing. I think the police officers can learn. I think the auditors can learn what freedoms they have and what they don't. Unfortunately, if they learn that the hard way, that's probably not great for them. But Yeah, I think there can be learning that occurs.
Okay. Would you say that that is the biggest reason that you have for believing this?
Yeah, because I think if an officer does an action that is illegal and they get penalized for that, I think that they're probably not going to do that action again. And I think a lot of times, if they did that action that time, they probably knew they were being reported. They've probably done it several other times, unreported, got away with it. So I think that's a good thing, because I think we should have our rights intact. I don't think there should be police officers who are violating the law. So I think if they get caught, it's a good thing.
Okay. And it's a good thing because they will learn to right their wrongs.
Yeah, I think they'll correct their behavior, or at least I think there's a chance I think part of it might be ignorance. They might not know the law entirely, unfortunately. I mean, I think they should. And a lot of officers probably do, I'm sure there's tons that know the law in and out and never make silly mistakes. But there's definitely officers that don't. So if at least if it's a way of informing them, I suppose.
Okay. Where are you at right now with your confidence on that?
I think, and I'm gonna kind of, I don't know what the right word to use. If it's done correctly, and if the auditing is done correctly, respectfully, and you're not bothering other people, not causing harm, I would say I'm at like 75%.
Okay. 75%. And
Hi. Hello. Yeah, feel free.
Feel free. Please take.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
we haven't had
absolutely.
anybody stop by today.
Definitely. Okay. 75%, and people learning the correct way to go about the law, and that means better behavior all around.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Are there any other reasons you have for your 75%?
I don't think so.
Okay. What would you need to see that would lower your confidence that it is a net good?
I guess if there were resources being pulled away, like if this officer chose to respond to this incident over something that should have been responded to, that was much more important, that resulted in harm occurring. I think they're probably prioritizing that already, but if there's mistakes happening where they're not prioritizing the right calls, then that definitely would. I think that should be addressed maybe separately, but if that was occurring all the time and there wasn't really a good way to fix that, then yeah.
And in your experience so far, observing these interactions, that doesn't happen very often?
I think I know sometimes the people who call it in will be deceitful and exaggerate the circumstances. And in those situations, it's like, well, it's not really the auditor's fault. It's these other people who, that's a crime to mislead, a 911 call or whatever, or a non-emergency line, whatever, if you're exaggerating. But I guess the whole circumstance as a whole, yeah, that kind of sucks, But I don't know of any actual circumstances where, somebody else where an officer, if they could have responded, it would have changed an outcome of some other situation. I'm not aware of that, but it's possible. Very well possible.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way in which it's almost like the way that you've described your reason here. Like, if I were to ask you, is there any way that somebody could learn something and change their behavior and it be a negative outcome?
Interesting. So,
like, an audit happens
and the police officer changes their behavior in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like, they learn that they shouldn't be doing that, so they figure out, maybe they could figure out a way to get around.
To hide it? Or
yeah, maybe they're gonna figure out a way to shut off recording devices.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's possible.
Something like that.
Yeah, something. Or they persuade the person to turn off their camera instead of just behaving better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe. Or I guess there might be a circumstance in which the officer learns this and kind of takes it a little bit too extreme, or learns something false, like, oh, I can never arrest a person who's on a public sidewalk that's, because I don't know. I'm having trouble getting their words in the right place there, but
yeah, I
kind of get what I'm
you.
saying.
Yeah. If
they're hesitant to make an arrest,
right.
They're hesitant to do this or that,
and that leads to more harm or something.
Yeah, when that person probably should have been arrested, and then that person does more crime because they think they can get away with it each time. Yeah.
And if you learned that was happening more often, would that lower your confidence?
Oh yeah.
And that good?
Yeah, that would. I don't think that's occurring, but yeah, if I were to learn that, then yeah.
Is there a way that we could figure that out?
Yeah, I guess we could do I don't know that any department would ever agree to this, but if they got a baseline of all officers, and then have like a test, and I guess ethically you should probably just tell them what they got wrong and take care of it right there and then. But for the sake of the test, then if they go through an experience with an audit, and then have them take the test again, see how well they do.
Compare. Yeah. Yeah, that would seem like a good test to me too. And maybe the best one for getting as close to the truth, whatever it is. I can't think of another one. Yeah, that's interesting. What would bring you up from 75?
I mean, the test we talked about.
Yeah.
But aside from that, if I learned that if there was a city or community that had a lot of audits going on, and that community saw, well, I guess if prior to the auditing there was a lot of lawsuits, I guess, civil rights lawsuits, and then, well, I guess that might actually be a learning, that'd be kind of similar to auditing, right? Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe if there was some officer saying, like, hey, this is what happened, this is what I learned, and I'm glad this happened. I know what to do now. I guess something like that. That might help.
And so far, you haven't experienced that, at least not very much or at all,
I guess
or observed, I guess I should say.
Right. Yeah, I've never been a part of an audit. I don't have to. I think there's been like, what are they called? Chiefs? Is that what the
Police chief?
Police chief?
Yeah.
I guess they've been like, yeah, this officer was in the wrong. You're in the right. Hey, thanks for bringing it to my attention. We're gonna figure it out with them. We're gonna make sure that these rights are not violated anymore. Sorry for the hassle. That's occurred. But I don't think I've ever heard it from an actual officer where it was like, oh man, I screwed up. Sorry, I learned a lot from this. Thanks for whatever. I haven't heard, but I've heard it from like chiefs, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering about I don't know, maybe we've already covered this, but if you could imagine somebody that held an opposite confidence in the same claim, what do you think they might say as their reasoning?
I think they would say that it's pulling resources from other calls. We kind of talked about that.
Yeah.
They might also say that it might be an unfair practice. Like they might say that it's kind of artificial, that it's provocative, that these situations may not occur in real life. I think they do, but maybe not as often.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anything I missed? I was trying to formulate an outsider test for like learning and changing behavior. But I don't know. I think we sort of went over that in the hypothetical that like the cop tries to hide things or like learns how to get around things more. That's the only thing that I was thinking of that I couldn't really figure out how to ask a question around it, but yeah. Is there anything else?
I don't think so.
That was good.